I move to Deputy Eugene Murphy, a question to the Minister for Justice and Equality about the deportation of an individual whose marriage has been confirmed by the HSE. Deputy Murphy, you have 4 minutes.
And I want to thank the Minister for being here to try and give me some answers to this question. And I also want to acknowledge Minister Naughton and Minister Kenny here, because both would know the situation I'm talking about. Minister, I want to bring a particular heartbreaking case to your attention today. And this is a case, in my view, involving an unjust deportation order, a couple who have been separated by thousands of miles, and a system, in my view, that has failed them miserably. This is the story of Ballinasloe and Harriet Bruce and her Brazilian-born husband, Kleber Medeiros, he was deported from Ireland on the 13th of July. And I'm calling, as I said, for an urgent review. Kleber Medeiros had been living in Ireland since 2011, and he was working in a specialist job. Now, I want to be honest with you, Minister. He was illegally here at that time, but he was trying to regularise his situation, and he had applied for a de facto visa. He fell in love with a local lady called Harriet Bruce. They got engaged last year. However, somebody objected to the HSE, which registers marriages, saying it would be a marriage of convenience. It has since been clearly established that this objection had no foundation. The couple went ahead with the religious ceremony, and on December the 10th, 2015, Kleber married Ballinasloe and Harriet in St Michael's Catholic Church in Ballinasloe. However, in July, Kleber received a letter from the Irish Naturalisation and Immigration Service telling him to present himself to make arrangements for his removal from the state. The couple were devastated, but Kleber, very anxious to cooperate, and indeed he was very optimistic that the situation would be resolved. He duly presented himself. He did the right thing, but he was deported the next day and remains in Brazil. On July the 22nd, a letter to Kleber from the HSE arrived in their home in Ballinasloe saying, following an investigation, and I'm quoting directly here, following an investigation of an objection to the above proposed marriage, the Superintendent Registrar has decided that there is not sufficient evidence to uphold the objection and no impediment to the marriage exists. So the HSE, and we criticised them a lot, but in this situation they were right, had admitted that the marriage is genuine and the marriage cert was issued, but this letter unfortunately came too late, and basically the couple's life has been turned upside down. The ironic thing is that the marriage licence has now been issued and Kleber needs to sign this form, but he is not permitted into the country to do so. Harriet has her own business in Ballinasloe. Now, she has temporarily left Ireland to be with Kleber in Brazil, but she has to come back to look after those businesses. I'm calling on you, Minister, to investigate and review this matter of urgency. These are real people, and they're not to be reduced to file numbers. And I hope, that these people are looked after, because their only crime was to fall in love, and now they're being punished. As I said, Harriet has business and property commitments in the state, and in my view it's outrageous that as an Irish citizen she would have to close her business and move halfway around the world simply because she fell in love and chose to marry a non-EU citizen. I implore you, Minister, to review Kleber Medeiros' deportation order, or at the very least allow him to return to Ireland to sign the marriage certificate which was justly granted to the couple. It is time to reunite this genuine couple. In fact, it is time to bring Kleber home.
And I would like to thank Deputy Eugene Murphy for raising this issue. I've also read the additional material that you've sent over to us. But at the outset, can I just say that it is not the policy of the Department of Justice to comment on the details of the decisions reached in individual cases. However, what I can say is that in general, there is a perception that marrying an Irish citizen confers an automatic right to reside in the state, and this is not in fact the case. Where a person is illegally present in the state, they can't simply rectify that situation by entering into a marriage with an Irish or other EU citizen or another person who is lawfully resident in the state. So, in general terms, if the Department was to treat marriages involving persons illegally present in the state in such a fashion, it would have the result that marriage contracted solely for the purposes of conferring a lawful immigration status would become an even more attractive proposition with various issues and consequences for the overall integrity of the immigration system. So in that regard, the Civil Registration Amendment Act of 2014 did provide additional powers to marriage registrars to refuse to accept the validity of proposed marriages. Most of those additional powers relate to the immigration status of one or both of the parties concerned, and these measures were taken primarily to combat the problem of sham marriages. The Taoiseach has a particular concern about sham marriages, and she has taken action to combat them in conjunction with the Garda Commissioner, who has established Operation Vantage in order to investigate such marriages. And Operation Vantage has proven very successful in reducing instances of sham marriages in the state. But I should make it very clear at this stage that I am not suggesting at all that the proposed marriage in question in this individual case comes under that bracket or could be in any way taken to be a sham marriage. However, the Deputy should note that various immigration decisions which issue from the Department are in many cases not predicated on an assumption that a marriage is a sham marriage. They instead focus on the fact that the person concerned is in the state illegally, and consideration of the case made by the person concerned as to why they should not be deported is fully taken into account under the relevant statutory framework. In addition, any claimed rights arising under Article 8 of the Human Convention on Human Rights and under our Constitution are examined, weighed and balanced against the right of the state to maintain a functioning immigration system. The outcome of that process is that in many cases a deportation order is then made, and such decisions can be re-examined and subsequently affirmed or the deportation order revoked. It is open to any person who was subject of a deportation order to submit additional information at any time and to request a reconsideration of their case. I understand in this case that has been recently done, in fact, and this material will of course be fully considered and a further decision will issue in due course. And it is if the decision is made to revoke the deportation order, then this individual, this person, like any other in a similar case, would then be allowed to return to the state. And I accept the genuine nature of your concern, and just to encourage them to please supply any additional information that they may have.
Deputy Murphy.
Minister, thank you for that detailed reply. And I am glad that in the middle of that speech that you did clarify that you weren't suggesting this is a sham marriage, because this was not a sham marriage. This was a man who came to seek a better livelihood in Ireland. He worked in the Ballinasloe region. He contributed to the local economy. He fell in love with a local girl. He got engaged. He got married. And the state, through the HSE, have this marriage certificate saying that everything was okay and he cannot come back into the country to sign it. Now, I know you understand that, but to me, this is a terrible case. And it's heartbreaking. I have spoken to members of the family, and it is really heartbreaking for them all. They're at wits' end about this situation. So all I want to say is I appeal to you, and I acknowledge what you've said, and I know you're a compassionate individual. But all I want to say to you is that we should make every effort to rectify what I think is a wrong and ensure that this couple can get on with their lives. Whether we're happy, whether we're contented, whether we're running the business, whether we're paying taxes, they were doing all of that. And I really think a wrong has been done here. And taking into account all you have said, and I acknowledge what you have said, we really need to look after this couple and ensure that they get fair treatment.
Yes, and to say, just to be absolutely clear, that I wasn't referring in any way to a specific case, but there are issues that we're all aware of around the broader area, and just to restate that in of itself a person does not have a right or entitlement to be in the state, does not generate such a right merely by going through a ceremony of marriage. But I do note what you have said, Deputy, and I can assure you that all relevant issues that are put forward by the person concerned, either by him or on his behalf, will be fully considered by the Department of Justice officials before a decision is made on whether to revoke or reaffirm the deportation order. And I will also make sure to pass on, which you may have done already yourself, the note that you have here to the Department. However, you will, I'm sure, accept that I can't here, we can't prejudge the outcome of that process. But again, to thank you, particularly for the empathy that you were showing to this person, to this couple.
Thank you. We move on now to